quickly go to my panel here. Dorian, before you go, I know you want to comment. Go right ahead.
Listen, we've heard these arguments about, you need a voter identification to board a plane or to check out a library book. We've heard this for the past 15 years. The fact of the matter is, boarding a plane or getting a book from the library isn't a constitutional right. It's not a right that's secured by the laws and the case law of our country, right? Like this, the right to vote is so precious that in constitutional case law, it's been referred to as so precious that it secures all the other rights. So it is the fundamental right. And Demetrius said something else. He said, the idea that black people aren't willing to do whatever it takes to get identification or to vote. Why are we always put in a position where we have to do whatever it takes to exercise something that we are due as a people, as citizens of this country? I mean, he's taking his privilege into account as well. I mean, he probably has access to a motor vehicle, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of us don't have access to motor vehicles, and we have to rely on public transportation and loose job schedules to get to the polls on election day. So why don't states take the opposite approach, like Oregon, where they register people automatically to vote, and you have to opt out of the right to vote if you don't want to vote? We should be making easier, not harder to vote. It's ridiculous. And I hear this stuff every week, day in and day out, about how it's so easy to cast a ballot, and if black people just, exercise a little gumption, a little moxie, then we'll be able to vote. But that's not the case, because we hear about it every day in the Election Protection Hotline, 1-866-RVOTE. If you have problems on election day, give us a call. We'll help you get to the bottom of those issues.
Roland.
All right, Dorian, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. Hey, folks, if you're looking for a hot new investment opportunity, I have two things I want you to think about: illegal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, you just let that sink in for a second. Our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created a unique opportunity for everyday investors like you to get in the game. If you want to find out more, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org to get in now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.
Cleo, go ahead with your comment, then I'm going to Brandon before I go to my next topic. Go ahead.
Recently, I'm sure you know by now, Kemp backed out of a debate with Abrams. And I'm sure Jeff Sessions still has nightmares about his interaction with Kamala Harris. And my point to you was that these Republicans have other strategies other than confronting black people directly. They get Kanye, they get other people to do their work to make black people have some appeal, or make the Republican Party have some appeal to black people by doing strategic, manipulative things. And overall, they're not interested in having this direct interaction that you keep asking about with black people. They rather do the strategic, manipulative thing that they do to make sure that they have an optical impression that make you consider voting for them. When Kanye was being confronted or addressed by the president, that had an impact. Then, as you know, Trump followed up with bringing about 400 young people, you were there, to the White House to create this optical illusion of black support. Trump's optical illusions have worked for him, not directly confronting black people. As you always say, he has yet to talk to the black press or surround themselves in a situation with black people that he does not control. They're not going to do it because they, like I said, what happened with Jeff Sessions, with Kamala Harris, that's one of their nightmares, that they're going to be confronted and actually be responsible, and they won't be able to. So I don't know if you're going to get what you want if you expect these white Republicans to actually be in a meaningful dialogue with black folks. They rather scheme and strategize.
Brandon, your comment, please.
Yeah, there's 2 points if I can get through. First off, we agree on a lot of things, but I disagree with you when you try to paint with a broad stroke the Republican Party. You're talking about white Republicans and interacting with the black community. Just 2 examples real quickly. John Kasich from my birth state of Ohio got 1 out of 4 black voters to vote for him back 2010. Larry Hogan up on the ballot this year.
And that's one guy.
Let me finish. Roland, let me get my point across. You
there
surely
are 31 Republican governors.
All right,
that's
Roland,
one.
All I said again was that when you paint with the broad stroke, if you want to sit here for the next hour and go down and list a lot of other ones, Larry Hogan in my state currently of Maryland, running right now, the latest poll.
That's 2.
Hold up, let me finish. The latest
that's
poll by
2
the
out of 31.
Newspaper, the latest poll by the Afro newspaper shows him with a 65% approval rating from black Marylanders. So all I was pointing out
Brandon,
is that when you paint with
that's
the broad
2
stroke,
out of 31.
Okay, want me to keep going down the list? I will. But Roland, all I'm saying again is that when you paint with a broad stroke,
Brandon,
the Republican Party, you're doing
you stopped that too.
Secondly, to the second point.
Brandon, you stopped that too.
Okay. My second point about
Brandon, you stopped that too.
What? To what?
Go ahead.
2 white folks.
Okay. So again, I'm
Go
just saying
ahead,
again,
finish
you
your
paint with a
second
broad
point,
stroke.
but
That
go
was my point.
ahead.
Second point.
You keep
before
saying I
cut me off.
paint with a broad
The
brush.
second point
Yeah,
was,
because
the
it's
second
broadly
point was
true.
about voter registration statistics. The Pew Research Center, which I know you all agree on here, is not a right-wing organization at all. It actually leans a little bit to the left. The Pew Research Center did a research on voter registration in this country and found that 1 out of 8 voter registration forms in this country are inaccurate or out of date. That's 24 million, 1 out of 8. They found that there are 1.8 million deceased people on the rolls currently, and that 2.75 million people are registered in 2 states. So I bring that up only to point to the fact, as the gentleman from the American Prosperity is talking about, that the need for voter ID is not an attempt at some imaginary problem.
Brent, I'm going to stop you right there, brother.
It is an issue that is being addressed right there. You can look at Canada, other countries as well, that do
how
have
many
voter IDs.
instances do we have of in-person voter
fraud? You always
fraud
like to point to
over the past 15
other countries
years,
when
Brandon?
it comes to healthcare or Europe. If you
How
don't want to talk
many
about voter ID
instances do
and
we
that
have
nature
of
as well.
in-person voter fraud, Brandon?
Again, to
how
your
many
point.
instances?
Okay, to your point.
Do we have of in-person
And I
voter
talked about this
fraud?
before, and if you let me get to your point, how do you investigate a crime first dictates how many that come out. There's been over 1,000 of them that I can list. If you give me time, I'll pull up the website and go through them. But again, if you're not investigating it or don't have protocols in place to catch it.
There are protocols,
how do you
Brandon.
Catch it? No, how do you
It's
catch
under state law.
You
just graduated law school. You know that, right?
I work on campaigns, and I graduated law school,
Okay.
and I work as a campaign manager.
Okay.
Have you worked on a campaign before as paid staff?
Absolutely not. But I am an attorney, and I have looked into this. Now, so let me
go
know
back.
how
Let me
many.
go back.
Let's go to our
I'm
birth
about
state
to
of
go back
Ohio.
to your point about
how many
Okay.
instances
You're
of
gonna talk over
in-person
me.
voter fraud have you seen?
Okay, hold on. I'm a referee. Dorian, ask your question, and then go Brandon.
Yes, your question.
Let's limit it to the state of Ohio. That is our birth state. We went to the same high school,
Right.
actually.
Okay.
How many instances of in-person voter fraud have you seen over the past 15 years out of the state of Ohio?
So 2 things again. I don't live in Ohio. I've been living in Maryland 12 years. I live in Maryland, so I cannot speak to that.
Let's go to Maryland. I used to live in Maryland, too.
Let me go back. Let me answer your question, but I'm not going to answer how you want to answer, but I'm going to answer the question. I heard your question. Here's my answer. I've worked as campaign managers for campaigns on the front lines, Democrats and Republicans. How do you tell if somebody's coming to the polls on, as I pointed to, 1 out of 8 registrations in this country, the Pew Research Center has found to be inaccurate?
Okay.
How do you find that how do you prevent them from voting? There is no system if you're not checking IDs as they didn't do in Ohio for a long time.
Brandon, excuse me, I'm sorry. Dorian,
there's no way to find out.
Dorian, you got 30 seconds to respond.
I'll take 15.
I'm
Look,
bored.
the fact
Go
of the
ahead.
matter is it's a voter identification is a remedy for a sickness that does not exist. It is a voter suppression tactics because the more hurdles you put in the way of people when they try to vote, the less likely they are to turn out. We've seen it time and time again. And the court case that you were referring to, Roland, earlier out of North Carolina was the NAACP's case. And the court found, excuse me, this is my 15 seconds, brother.
Okay, all right.
The fact of the matter is,
guys.
Registrations are inaccurate according to a left-leaning organization. But
Okay, all right. Brandon, Brandon, I've heard the same point 7 times. I don't need an 8th time.
Same as
I'm
your
good.
suppression
All
tactic.
right.